So we're going to focus a little bit today on mudita, as I mentioned, and I really like mudita. I think it's an unfortunately underrepresented Brahmavihara. It's taught a lot less than the others, and I think because it's just a little more subtle. Mudita and equanimity are sort of the distant cousins. They don't get as much attention. But mudita is really about unity, oneness. It's about dissolving the boundaries between us and others to where we can get with mudita to a point where if somebody is receiving something, we can have the joy as if we're receiving it as them. So we see it. I had one student who just couldn't get mudita well, and they were walking around and they saw like a 3-year-old get an ice cream cone, and just the kind of explosive delight this child had to get this scoop of ice cream. Wow! Like this. He said, I couldn't help but just have my heart open and flow with this. So that's kind of where mudita, to me, is an easier off-the-cushion practice to see. Because as you're seeing, a couple embrace, somebody having something beneficial happen, it's not hard to feel what the joy is of that. So it starts really with the oneness. It starts with the unity. So it's helpful to do one of the unity meditations. Often I do the ocean meditation for that, to really get us in touch with the ocean, the oneness, the flow of that, and the breaking down of the barriers. And the barriers aren't real. I mean, we have physical differences. If I put a fork in my thigh, nobody else is going to be in pain. So there are differences, but we're, again, like waves on the ocean. We're individual expressions of that same ocean. And that's what we're getting in contact with mudita. And also it helps us work issues psychologically around scarcity and abundance. Whatever our family's relationship, every family had a take on both of those, and that's what we took in. And most families, even if there was great abundance, there was always a tone of scarcity, of that we're not going to have enough, we could lose all this. I have a man I know who's really successful in Europe, has a business, coaching or some kind of business, really, really successful. And at one point he were talking and he was telling me he owned multiple properties in Europe and real estate, and he owned all this stuff. And and he said, well, I've got money in the bank. I said, well, I'm curious, what do you have in the bank? Oh, I've got 3 million euros in the bank. It's like, oh, that sounds pretty good. And I said, how much is enough? He goes, well, I don't know. I said, well, suppose you had 5 million euros in the bank. Could you quit your job and just become a bum and travel around? No. What if there was a global collapse of economy? I said, we've got the real estate. Well, the houses could go to zero. They could have no value. And I said, what if you had 10 million euros in your account, and this property is all paid off? And no, there still could be this collapse. And so I realized, so there is no number. There's no number for you that you have. And he said, well, maybe 1 billion. I said, well, you're on your own on that. But you see, the point is, because of the scarcity, there was always a sense that things could explode and I could be without anything. And so you can see it ties into the survival instinct, to where it's not logical, because there's no amount of money where most of us, if someone said, I'll give you this check, or if I'm winning the lottery, I'm quitting my job, I'm done doing all this stuff. And anyway, so that's part of the process of mudita, is in working with the category of beings, is seeing your relationships, seeing what gets triggered. Particularly envy and jealousy are the most common. And the main difference between those, envy is really, I want what they have. And jealousy is, I'm angry that they have what I want. So jealousy has that bit of sting to it. Like you're at work and you're in line for a promotion with some others, you think you're getting it, they get it. And it's like, but they're an idiot. I'm the one that knows I work hard, I deserve this, all that rationalization we do. That's the anger part, is they shouldn't have it. They're taking what's mine. That's really the sense. And then this ties into greed. And the greed is really often in Buddhism, in Theravada Buddhism, they talk about hungry ghosts. And we all have these attributes, but the hungry ghost is often depicted as having this enormous stomach, this gigantic mouth, and the neck is so small, the languaging is only one pea at a time can go down the throat. So they can fill their mouth with food, but they can only swallow one pea's worth of food at a time. So they never can get full. They have this big belly they're trying to fill. So that's the hungry ghost, the greed aspect that we can all have and bring to our lives. So let's do a little bit of practice with mudita. Now with this, we want to pick a friend who's easy to be happy for. Somebody who is not going to trigger you in any way where they're getting something you might want. You want to pick somebody who's actually had some joy or success or something in their life. So somebody who's gotten a promotion or gotten engaged or married or had children or whatever would make somebody happy. Just hold on to that memory. You don't want to create something that didn't happen to them. So you don't want to imagine them winning the lottery or something like this. You want something tangible they went through. That's helpful. And just, visual meditators, you can picture the person's face in your heart area. The felt sense meditators hold the sense of them, their felt sense in the heart. And then the phrases for mudita: continue to be happy and content. Things like your good fortune continue and increase. Happiness not diminish. And one of the ways I've had folks that really were identified with scarcity work it is sort of a little bit of an affirmation mantra, not in the meditation, but off the cushion, using a mantra, either I'm enough, or I have enough, or this is enough. Because there's something about having enough that really the scarcity people are searching for. And I had one woman on retreat who said, I can handle this all everywhere except the food line. When I get in the food line on retreat, because there's people and there's only so much food, it totally triggers my scarcity. And I always take more food than I can eat. And so I had her just experiment saying, I'm enough, I have enough, as she went through the food line. And she found it actually worked for her. She was able to take smaller portions and realized there would still be food after everybody ate. She could have more. But it was even that little bit. And she wrote later to say she was incorporating into her life and finding it useful. So some of these things can be really helpful if that is an issue that you work with. So again, start with somebody who's easy to be happy for. And our object is their happiness or good fortune. I think that's enough. And we'll just do a short sit before the break. So go ahead and start as usual with your belly breaths, deeply relaxing into your seat. Letting your awareness be fully present in this moment. This is all that exists. And start by feeling the good camaraderie here, the support and the care, the tenderness. Invite awareness to the hara, feeling that inner seat. The hara tends to be non-conceptual, without much thought. So as we sit there, we can rest in not knowing. On the next in-breath, invite awareness to the heart area. Opening to the love that's here, the caring, the undivided nature Sense into the wholeness and the connectivity. We're all waves on the same ocean. Uniquely individual, but part of the same whole. Sense into the undividedness, the unity. Now bring to your heart the person that you know, the friend who's easy to be happy for. Seeing and sensing their presence, possibly seeing them in a smiling, happy mood because something good happened. Feel the resonance in your heart. Witnessing their happiness or success. If you want to use a support phrase, you can use one of the suggestions, may your happiness increase. I'm happy for your happiness. Or you can select another of your own choosing. As you witness their happiness and success, notice the resonance, the impact on you in your heart.